Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we start, the first thing I have to go through is share with you our code of conduct, which is ensure that you're welcome and you're respectful to others. We are open to all the questions that we may have and different viewpoints, but also ensure that you're kind and considerate to everyone in the call. Thank you again for joining in. And today's session will be talking about how you can build your own AI translator. You can build your own AI translator. Before I go into the nitty gritties of what the session will entail, probably I can give you a background of why exactly we're here today. And we are discussing about the Game of Learners Clinics. The Game of Learners Clinics is about a 5-week program whereby we'll be talking about different things around AI. So we started with an introduction to artificial intelligence. What exactly is artificial intelligence? And then we picked up from there, continued talking about machine learning, how you can build machine learning projects on Azure. And earlier this week, we did a session on Copilot as well as a session on code spaces. So, how can you build your different machine learning models using different languages that you're using with the help of AI, that is GitHub Copilot, and on the cloud, that is using code spaces. Today's session will be talking about translator, how you can be able to use AI to translate from one language to another. So we'll be building a translator app. Our speaker will be Bunmi Akindremi from Nigeria. She's a Gold Student Ambassador and she'll be joining up shortly. But before she joins in, you can review today's session. It's available live on Microsoft Learn. It's available live on Microsoft Learn, whereby you can go ahead and check out what exactly we'll be talking about. So let me share the link to Microsoft Learn module that we'll be covering today. It's on translating text to speech. And yeah, I've just shared the link of what we'll be covering today. And yeah, our speaker is up. So let me add her to the call and she can continue the session. Okay, over to you, Bunmi.
Okay, hi everyone. So excited to be here today. And today I'm going to be talking about how you can use um, Azure AI Translator Service to actually build a web app, right? So I'm going to be showing you how you can consume this over an API and get it up and running, right? So let me know if you can see my screen. Let me see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. So, yeah, so today I'll be talking you through how to build a web app, right? And I'll be using a web tool that you might not be familiar with. It's called Streamlit, right? So, I chose Streamlit because it's new, it's open source, and it's something you definitely want to try out, right? So, one of the popular frameworks that you use with Python is Flask, right? So other than Flask, there are actually other new exciting tools that you might want to try out. Right? Okay, great. So, and yeah, you're also going to code along. So get your VS Code ready. It's going to be exciting. Okay, so let me quickly talk about Azure AI Translator Service. So Azure AI Translator Service is an AI-powered translator, right? That doesn't need you to understand large language models or natural language processing called NLP or even how to build a machine learning model, right? So all you need to do is just to figure out how you're going to deploy this to your application and use. So it's just like a grab and go kind of tool, right? So the model has been trained already. The model has been yeah, it has been trained with data, and then all you just need to do is just to connect this API endpoint with your own application and then use it for any use case you want to do. So to get started, you have to create an Azure account, right? So you can create an Azure account and get about $200 credit. And if you're a student, you can activate your Azure for Students account and you get $100 free credit. Right? So that does not require your credit card if you're a student. Okay. So one of the three of the cool thing about Azure AI Translator service that I love is that it supports over 100 languages, right? And very exciting is the fact that it now supports African languages. So that's like cool, great news. So if you're interested, right, and then you want to see how all this is African languages, popular ones like Yoruba or Swahili or all those popular languages can actually try that out, right? And then it also allows you to customize your translation to your need, right? So you can actually build custom models to handle your domain specific use case, right? And then it's production ready, so you don't need to figure out compute, you don't need to figure out data, you don't need to figure out how you're going to write your codes. So all you just need to do is just to grab the particular create the resource and then deploy it in your application. So just grab and do. Yeah, let me quickly talk about Streamlit. So Streamlit is an open source web framework for building ML and data science applications. So it's not just restricted to building ML applications. For example, you can build a visualization dashboard. You can, yeah, you can just do a lot of data science, deploy data science models with Streamlit. So basically, that's what it is. And the great thing is that it's open sourced. So you can decide to add features to it if you want, and so on. So today we're going to be using it, and the cool thing is you don't need to know how to use HTML or CSS, right? You just need to just know how to use simple functions, right? And it's customizable in Markdown, so you can actually use Markdown to design your web app. Cool, right? And then yes, all in pure Python. So it fully supports Python. It supports your Python functions, right? You can embed your functions in it, as we're going to see in this tutorial today. Okay. So yeah, I'm excited. Let's build. Um, I'd have to stop sharing my screen and share again. Right. Okay. I'm trying to see if my VS Code is opened already. Okay, cool. So let me know if you can see my screen. Just let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, so cool. So today, before we like start building, so you want to let me share the GitHub link for this. So I have prepared already the GitHub link. So in case you want to go back to the codes and you know, code along, or you just want to clone it and then customize. Okay, great. So I called the application Handyman. I guess I just give it any random name really. So this is the application here, right? So you can choose one of these languages to get started, and then there are also commands on how you can run this repository, clone it, and then use, right? So easy peasy. So now back to our um, code base. So the first things you want to do is to install um, python.env. So python.env allows us to create environment variables and then load this into your workflow, right? And then the next thing you want to do is to install request. So request is a Python library that allows us to send and receive post and guest requests to an API. right? And then Streamlit. So Streamlit for, of course, building the web interface, and then Color if you like to have a couple of customizations to your web app. Right? Great. So these are the basic requirements. So before you can even get started, we want to create a Azure resource for this. So you're going to go to Azure portal, right? And then we're going to create this resource. Okay, great. So this is your Azure portal home, right? And then you start by clicking on create a resource. Yeah, so you get to choose the resource. You get to just type in translator. And then here, this is the one we're looking for, right? So you click on create. So cool. Yes, you choose your subscription. So mine is Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. And then if you don't have an existing resource group, you can create one. So I can say this is demo language AI, right? Okay. And then you choose your region. So West EU or um, whatever region is closer to you. Then give it a name, right? So you can, like me, call it Handyman or whatever. Then choose your pricing tier. So because I already have one with free, so yeah, choose this one. So that's if you can't find the free subscription. Okay. So again, we'll allow it to review. Great, and then you click on create, right? So it's going to take some time to sort of create this deployment. In the meantime, we can look at the structure of our code, right? So it's going to take some time to create this. So you go back to your Visual Studio Code, and then first you want to create a file called app.py, right? So app.py is a Python file, right? And what you're going to do there is that you're going to just where you're going to call your functions, where you're going to design your Streamlit app, right? And then if you have additional Python functions, you can just import them as modules here too. Okay, so importing your libraries, importing Streamlit, importing request, importing OS, importing your .env library installed, and then if you'd like to write HTML in Streamlit, you can also do that. And then yeah, so importing color if you would like to add colors. So yeah, so great. I want to give my Streamlit app a title, right? I'm calling it um Handyman Meal Technologist. So right, I'm calling it Handyman, and then this meal technologist here is an emoji. So yeah, another cool thing with Streamlit is that you can actually add emojis to your app. If you'd like to do that, Streamlit has a sort of list. It's called Streamlit emoji shortcodes. Right. Okay. So it basically contains like a list of all emojis, and then you just copy and then you see them in your codes. Right. It's a lot, so it takes some time to load. So yeah, and then I want to add more text. I want to add like yeah, a description. So I'm saying, hey, Handyman is a web assistant that helps you translate between any of the supported languages, right? So the interesting thing is that it actually automatically detects the language your text is written in and translates to whatever required language you want to. So the only thing you need to set is the language you're translating to, right? So and then yeah, these are just like text. So let me see if it's done. So great, our deployment is complete. You click on go to resource, and then you click on keys and endpoints. So these here are very, very important. Your keys are very important, right? So you're going to note your key. You can use key one or key two, and then your location or region, and then the link to either you're doing text translation or you're doing document translation. So you know that. So for this tutorial, we're going to be doing text translation. So you want to copy this. So go back to your um, VS Code. You're going to create a new file. You're going to call that file .env. So it's an environment variable. So mine already exists. I can't like create. Okay, so now your .env file is going to contain these two keys, and yeah, so you're going to have like the first key. So you're going to replace your key with whatever you have there, right? So whatever you have here, you're just going to copy, and then you paste here, right? And then you're also going to copy the endpoint. So this is the endpoint here. Yeah, right. So you copy the endpoint and then you paste it right here. And then the location that you selected earlier. So if you are not sure, this is the location here, West US 2, right? Okay, cool. So now that you have all that set up, you want to go again to your app.py file, and then you call this into your main file, right? So you're calling key, you're calling endpoint, you're calling location. So because we already installed the .em file, .en library, right? All we just need to do is just to let our OS sort of look for it, and then it automatically imports this into your .py file, right? So now you're having, so now the next thing we want to do is we want to create a sidebar, and then this sidebar should have, probably I'm just creating a list of supported languages, having English, French. So these are the languages I want you to translate to. So maybe you're translating from Spanish, for example, right? So it automatically detects Spanish. So for example, if you want to do Spanish to English, right? So this here are a list of languages you can translate to. So there are a lot more. You can choose more from. You can check the documentation and then select more languages. Right. Okay. So on the sidebar, I use st.sidebar, and then I want a select box so that I can choose any of the available languages. And then I use st.select box. So you can see that these are like simple English words. So I want to select box, and then I use select box. So to find more of these available functions, you can just go to Streamlit's documentation, right? So they are like all there. And then, right. So great, I have a sidebar already. Then I want to have, perhaps on the main page, I want to have two sections. And then the first section is where you input your text, and then the second section is where the output is shown, right? So for that, I do st.columns. So I want two columns, right? So the first and the second. The first is T1, the second is T2, right? So now here, um, so right here is where I constructed the URL for the API. So going back here, right. So going back to overview. So if you want to check if your app literally runs, so if you want to check it works, right? So for example, if I say um, bonjour, so bonjour is French. So you can see that it works, it translates it to Spanish, right? And it says hola. If I say hi, and then I'm translating to Polish, right? It says hola. Okay, if I say yeah, bonsoir. So this is bonsoir in Polish. So you can see that, and then if you check here, this would be your API response. So here you can see it detected the language automatically, right, as French, FR, and then gives the score of 1. That is, it has like 100% accuracy that yes, this is French. And then this is the translated version to Polish with code of PL, right? So you can always do this to be sure that yeah, it works. Okay, great. So now that we have that working, so you come to your VS Code. So now the API has, it sort of has a link that you have to send. How do you send to that API and back, right? So I actually broke it down to sort of give you the like the makeup, right? So the constructed URL, which is the URL to that API, consists of your endpoint, your paths, and then your target language, right? So you want to send it to Azure API, it consists of your endpoint, your path, and then your target language. So now let me explain. So we already know from here that we called our endpoint here, which we saved in our key variable, and then the path. So the path is the version of the translation API you're using. So you're using API version 3.0, and then the target language. So this target language would be gotten from whatever language your user chooses, right? Whatever language you choose. So so combining the three would give us the URL, the complete URL, right? So again, it consists of three things: the endpoint, the path, which contains the API version, and then the target language, right? So converting to what language, right? So great. Now we need to set up the header. So now the header consists of your subscription key, your location, the content type, and then your client choose ID. Okay. So again, the location, we already have the location, right? So you got the location here, and then your key here, right? So easy peasy, you just slot it in, and then make sure to set the header type as JSON because we'll be sending it in a JSON format. Okay, so great. Now we have all that set up. So the next thing is that you want to get your translated text. Okay, so initially I set the translation text as empty, right? And then I want a place that shows the user to input your text. So I create a small header, fourth heading, and then it says your input text. So I set a default text. So the default text here is hello, I'm Handyman. All right, so that's the default text. And then, so I'm also creating a condition. So if st.button, that is create a button. So if that button is clicked, that is if the user clicks on translate, right? So what I want to do is I want to get the input text, and then I want to make a call to that URL, to Azure's API, right? And then I'm sending the text, I'm sending the header, and then the URL. So the URL, the header, and then the text. And then I'm sending this to Azure. And then I'm receiving the requests. I'm converting the request to JSON, right? And then from JSON, I'm taking the text, that is the translated text. So when you actually view this, you will see like a lot of other things, right? Just like I showed you here. So it won't just give you the text, it will give you something like this, right? So, but then I'm interested in this text here. So yeah. Okay, so I want translations and I want text. So now, when I get the text, I want to return this text back to the user. So remember I said we're going to have two parts where the user sends data and then where the user um, sees the response. So this part is for where you send data, and then the second part is for where you receive response. Okay, so have translated text. So this is where the translated text is going to be displayed. So I also want to do a bit of customization. I want the response to be sort of in a box, right? So here you can use to write a little bit of HTML just to customize, right? So I want paragraph, and then I declare the font size, the padding, right? The padding size. So yeah, and then I want to display the translated text with a background color. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here, right? So cool. That is all for creating the framework. So you can see that it's very short, like just very short codes. I hope you're excited. Okay. Wow, let's test it out, right? So to test it out, you're going to click on open your terminal. Okay, create command prompt. So I already have my virtual environment up and running. If you do not have, you can like create one and then ensure to install the requirements and the requirement.txt file, right? And then to run a Streamlit app, all you need to do is to type Streamlit run the name of your Python file. So for me, it is app, right? So app.py. And then it's going to set this up on your local server, right? So here you can see it says you can now view your Streamlit app in your browser. So this is the URL um of your app, right? So great. And so this is what you see, right? So this is the title I gave it, and then the emoji. So and then I said, Handyman is a web assistant that helps you translate between any of the supported languages, right? So your input text and your translated text. So remember, we set the default text as "Hello, I'm Handyman," right? So for example, if I'm changing it to, I don't want to say English. So for example, okay, I only know French. I don't know any other language besides French. So if I say, or rather, I mean any other non-English language. So if I say, um, bonsoir, um, this is probably not correct. Okay, let me just say bonsoir. Okay, and then remember here we're translating to English, right? So this is the sidebar we created earlier. And then you can see the selected languages. So I said bonsoir and it says good evening. So if, for example, I want to translate to Italian, right? And I click on translate. So it's gonna take me to, yeah, so this is bonsoir in Italy, right? So you can also play around and convert to, for example, Spanish, right? Yeah, it's going to change it to, yeah, buenas noches. So you can actually play around with this and explore other languages and then test out other things. So that is how you build a simple translator web app. So you see that I don't even have to like build a lot of stuff. So with by calling simple functions, right? Like here, calling simple functions at like st.write, st.markdown, st.columns, right? So what st.column did here was this. So you probably can't see the line, but it seems like there are two columns. There's column one, there's column two, right? So yeah, and another thing I would like to mention is here, right? So when choosing the target languages, please ensure you get the language code. So you're not going to be sending English to Azure API server, but you're going to be sending the code. So English code is EN. So ensure you send like, so that's why I said if the target language is English, then the target language is EN. So if it's French, then it's FR. If it's Italian, it's IT. It's Japanese, it's JA. It's it's Russia, it's RU, Korean, KO, Spanish, US, and so on and so forth. So you can also get this in the documentation. So it's probably not going to be as hard. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bunmi. There's one question on the chat asking you to share the repo, the code for your project. But thank you so much. I think the walkthrough has been incredible, following from when you started building with Azure and then going into Streamlit. It's an amazing fit. But yes, can you please share the repo link? Are you able to hear me, Bunmi? You're muted. Okay. As she shared the repo link.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Let me look it up. So
Yeah, as she shared the repo link. Anyone with any other question for Bunmi before we end the session?
cool. Okay. Share it in the chat.
Um, okay. Um, so next week we'll have a similar session. We'll have a session on Tuesday, and the session will be around building a bot with the Azure services. So let me share my screen so that I can be able to see what the next session will be about. Yeah, so next week we'll have another session. The session will be around conversational AI with Azure bot services. This session will be on Tuesday, same time as now. And this session will cover how you can build conversation AI applications using the different Azure services. We'll also do the same with a small application and then share it with you. We'll also share the repository, the GitHub repository, and everything that you might need for you to complete the session. So let me drop the link to next week's sessions. There's a question from Bunny Gordon's asking, Bunny Gordon's is asking, I have read that she's a machine learning engineer exploring how AI systems can be used to help farmers increase and monitor their crop yields. So why doesn't she talk about this? So unfortunately, Bunmi has dropped, but I will ensure to share the question with her so that I will be able to give you a reply on that. To get that reply, I'll ask her to share it on WhatsApp. So if you're not yet on WhatsApp, you can join the WhatsApp group so that you can be able to get details on that answer because Bunmi currently is. Oh yeah, Bunmi has just joined. Hi Bunmi.
Hi. Yeah. Sorry about that. My network just went
Okay.
off.
Yeah, there's a question on the chat
Yeah. I shared.
around. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. Oh no! I said I shared the repo link on the
Oh,
chat already.
okay, no problem. So there's a question on the chat. The comment is about Bunny Gordon is asking, I've read that you are a machine learning engineer exploring how AI systems can be used to help farmers increase and monitor their crop yields. Can you talk more about your project and what you're doing on the project? Bunmi, have you been able to understand the question? Okay. As we wait for her reply, I have posted the I have posted the link for the repository on the chat. So you can go ahead
Oh,
and check out the
okay.
repository.
Yeah. At
Yeah.
that time, I sorry can't give all the details here, right? But it was more on computer vision, um, using computer vision to sort of automate things that farmers would have to go to the farm and then, you know.
Okay. I think we've lost her again. So I've also posted on the chat the link around the WhatsApp group if you want to know more about the project, if you want to know more about any other details. But I'll ask her to share on the WhatsApp group when she's able to be able to share more about her project. So you can check out the link on the chat, go to that link and click on join the WhatsApp group to join, and then I'll be able to ask the question there. I think you can find her on LinkedIn and other places as Bunmi and Kiremi, or you can use her GitHub profile and see if you can find her LinkedIn or Twitter details there. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining in. It was great having you all for this session. Remember, next week we have a session, same time on Tuesday, and the session will be about conversational AI, so building bots and how you can be able to do this. Thank you so much and have a good rest of your day. Bye, everyone.